Welcome back to Check the Pulse. As usual, I'm grateful and honored today to have another friend of mine, Karan Chauhan, on the podcast. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. You got it
Did
right.
I get it?
Yeah, you got
Guys, I
it.
practiced that for like 10 minutes before
Yeah.
doing this intro. Anyways, but welcome to the podcast. Thank you for
Thank you.
being here.
Thank you.
And just for everyone that doesn't know you, and then I'll explain how I even met you.
Yeah.
You want to introduce yourself a little bit, talk about your journey, where you're at now, how you got there, and then we'll dive into the conversation.
Yeah. So as Kristina mentioned, my name is Karan. I am a real estate agent. I think I'm the third one on the podcast
Yeah.
now. Realtor, real estate professional, whatever you want to call me. I just joined the industry at the end of 2023, so I'm relatively new as an agent, but I'm getting into that experience level now. But how I got here, this wasn't like wasn't the calling for me, but I started off as basically, went to university. I did the whole traditional route. I went to
Yeah.
university for business, did that degree, graduated, and then joined the corporate world. And the plan was always to just climb the corporate ladder and then, retire at 55, 60, 65, whatever
Nice pension.
that everyone else does. That was kind of the plan for me. So I started off, actually, my first job was at Walmart Canada. So I was pretty humbled and lucky to get a job that wasn't quite entry level and it wasn't quite senior level. So it was probably a job that needed 3 to 5 years experience. And I was able to get myself and land that, which was great. And I was lucky to get it and work with some great people. And I did that for about 5 years, which was fantastic. I have nothing bad to say about the company, the people I worked with. It was really great. Then I transitioned into a company called Good Food, which I'm sure maybe you're familiar
Yeah,
with,
heard
but
of it.
it's the meal kit delivery service.
Yeah.
So I did that for a year, and then I transitioned to the last job, which was a company called Wild Fork, which it's relatively new to Canada. All these companies, I was in the project management space.
Yeah.
So project manager, program manager, senior project manager, across those three roles in the supply chain divisions of those companies, because that's what I specialized in school.
Yeah.
So the goal was always to just continue down that path
Yeah.
and grow that corporate ladder, and then just that was the plan.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess then in my last job, which was in 2023, early 2023, is kind of when that ended. There's just had a couple complications with that role, and I won't get into the details of it. But basically, I made a decision to leave.
Gotcha.
Now, just to kind of sidetrack a little bit and how the real estate plays into all this.
Yeah.
My dad was always a realtor.
Okay,
So he's
cool.
been in the real estate space for about 25 years, I think 30 years, somewhere around that.
Yeah.
But my dad always did it on the side. He had his main job, but then he did real estate on the side because he was always a big believer that you should have multiple streams of income coming in so that if one doesn't work out, you have something else to fall back on, right? That was just his mentality, and that's what he instilled on us. So he always did it on the side. So I grew up with it. I saw it in the house. I would hear him talking about it. So I was always interested in it. So he would always push me to get my license. Like, you should get it, even just to have it.
Yeah.
If you want to help out some family, some friends, it's something that's good to have. So I was like, all right, I'll try it.
Yeah.
And this would have been, I can't remember now, 2019, 2018 maybe.
Okay.
So the program, like the courses to do it, there was, at that time, there was only 3 courses. So I did course 1, passed it, did course 2, passed it, and then course 3, I failed it.
No way.
Which most people who do it pass it. So I was
Yeah.
like, am I just an idiot or something? Like, what's going on here? You get 2 chances to do it, and I failed it twice. And I don't know why. It's just I don't know if I just wasn't comprehending it or
Yeah.
if I was just focused on my job or whatever it was. So I was like,
Yeah.
screw this, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So then come 2020, 2021, they changed the program to Humber, and then it became like a 6-course program.
Holy shit.
And there was a point in between where I'm like, I'm not doing this because I've already tried it. I've attempted. I'm not going to go down that path.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? Something just kind of hit me to like, just try it again.
Yeah.
And I think my dad had maybe mentioned it a few more times to try it again. And I didn't actually tell him that I tried it again. So
Okay.
it was going to be a bit more of like a surprise / gift to him
Yeah.
to do it and get my license. and I also wanted to get it for myself. Like
For
I was
sure.
getting interested in it. So then I did it. I did all, I can't remember, 5, 6 courses. And it was funny because the last course, I didn't fail it,
Okay.
but I passed it by one question.
You did it though.
Yeah, it was like you needed a 75 to pass, and I got a 76. So I didn't get that one question right. I would have had to do it again. So I'm thanking God that happened.
That's meant to be.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm not doing this again. And so, anyways, got the license by the time that happened. It was 2022.
Mhm.
So now, fast forward to what I was talking about before. I had some complications, I guess, with the last role that I was in,
Yeah.
and I had to make a decision. It was, do I just get another job? Do I go for another senior PM role and just do that, or do I try something different? Because I was starting to get a little bit frustrated with the corporate world and the
Yeah.
corporate life, and I think a lot of people can resonate with me when there are things that are frustrating. There's
Mhm.
politics involved. There's a lot of red tape involved in certain companies,
Mhm.
and I just wasn't really having it anymore.
Right.
So I was like, do I try this route of going into real estate? Because the plan was always the vision was to like do it on the side, start a
Right.
bit of a business, and then take it and do it full time.
Yeah.
So at this point, I hadn't done that side part because my, I couldn't, I didn't have the time to do it,
Right.
right? And I didn't have the energy to do it either. So I was like, okay, let's explore this, maybe going out on my own and doing the real estate thing. So I had to, before I make any decision, I talked to people in my life
Yeah.
to get everyone's opinions on it. So talk to my friends, talk to my family, and then I talked to other like mentors who are in the industry, right?
Mhm.
Because I want to talk to people who are doing it to say, hey, is this a good idea?
For sure.
And I think the advice I got was pretty split.
Mhm.
I had people that would say, you know what, like, go for it, try it, um, and see if you can do it. And then I had others that would say, like, you know what, there's so many realtors in the industry right
Yeah.
now, which is true. Like, I compete against so many people. So just like be careful because it might seem great,
Yeah.
but it might be a lot harder than you expect it to be,
Right.
which is great advice because you need to hear both angles of it.
Yeah.
And the decision I ended up making was, you know what, I'm never going to know that if I'm going to do well at this unless I try it. Let's
True.
put myself into the fire because I would be going into the fire, right? I
Mhm.
don't, I'm not going to be making income for a little while.
Mhm.
And I'm going to be going out on my own and, without really any knowledge of how to build this business, right?
Right.
So I was like, the only way I'm going to know is if I try.
Yeah.
So I made the decision and I got into it. But that came with a lot of challenges. I started off I started off working for a team.
Okay.
So, obviously, Tyler McClay.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't join his team, but
Right.
he runs a team,
Yeah.
and I joined a team like that.
Gotcha.
So he's obviously got 25, 30 people on his team. I joined a team that was like 3 or 4
Gotcha.
because I wanted it to be a bit more intimate.
Right.
So that was a team out in Burlington, and it happened to be my friend's team, who is still one of my really good mentors. Shout out to Mike Paolini, um, just someone that I've always looked up to in the real estate space.
Yeah.
So I joined his team, and I did that for about 3 or 4 months. And because, like I said, I'd grown up with it,
Right.
I
Yeah.
kind of knew what I was going into,
Yeah.
but I needed a bit of guidance.
Mhm.
So after 3 or 4 months, then I ventured off on my own. I was like, hey, I don't need a team. I'm going to just be a solo agent, going to build my own brand
Yeah.
and just do this. So that's what I did. I called up Mitchell and I
Yeah.
said, hey, I need you to help me with like launching a brand.
Yeah.
And he helped me with doing that stuff.
Yeah.
And now here we are. And
Damn.
I'm about a year and a half in. But like, the sacrifices all came. Like when you join real estate, you don't make money for 6, 8, maybe 10 months because it takes time to build the clientele and then get your first few deals done. So I had to end up back home, my parents, which is as a 30-year-old or as a
Yeah.
29-year-old at the time, that's tough to do,
For
right?
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Of
Um,
course.
Back in 21, I ended up buying my own place. I moved in. I had like, that's what was going on for me,
Yeah.
right? Like I was working a good job. I was making a good salary. I had my own place. Like that's kind of what you want when you're in your late 20s, right?
For sure.
So then when I made this decision, I basically had to restart and go back home with mom and dad
Yeah.
and rent my place out and do all that. But the plan was like, okay, this is only gonna be 6 months. I'm only
Yeah.
gonna rent it out for 6 months, live there for 6 months,
Go back.
and then go back. Now a year and a half later, we're still there. But I guess I'm happy to say that I'll be moving back to my place in about 2 or 3 weeks.
Hey,
So,
amazing. See?
so we did what we achieved to do.
Yes, yes,
So
100%.
I'll pause there.
All right. Okay. But that,
Yeah.
first of all, amazing story.
Yeah.
I definitely resonate with that because I was in a corporate structure and then didn't agree with what was happening. Had to basically bet on myself to leave and get
Yeah.
into an industry and a company where I didn't
Yeah.
know what to do. I didn't know how to even start. Like, so I totally feel you with that. And I know how hard it is
Yeah.
to do that.
And I don't think it's like, sorry to cut you off, I don't think
No,
it's a bad thing, right?
It's
Like the
not.
corporate world is not a bad place.
No,
It's just not for everyone,
agreed.
right?
The same way though, like entrepreneurship is not for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
It's twofold. Like I know people that work in corporate 9 to 5 jobs and they're the happiest people.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they love it. And I tell them all the time, don't listen to this noise online of like, well, if you work a 9 to 5, like you're not successful. Like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
if that makes you happy, do it.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't for me, for
Yeah.
you.
And
right?
some of my biggest mentors now
Yeah.
are from the corporate world.
See?
My old leaders or my previous leaders from
Yeah.
the corporate world, and they're super successful and they're happy with what they do.
Yeah.
And so there is, it's just not for everyone, but it is for a lot of people.
For sure. And what's amazing is I find entrepreneurs that typically worked in the corporate world before becoming an entrepreneur in any aspect learn very valuable lessons that you then bring with you. Because
Yeah.
in corporate structure, as you move up, things become more intense, things
Yeah.
become more pressure. So you learn all these skills that you may not have had
Yeah.
starting out on your own from the start. You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, that definitely like resonate with your story for sure. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So a few questions for you now that are
Yeah.
like running
Alright.
through my mind here.
Hit me.
The first one that kind of sticks out is, so you said like you obviously spoke to those around you to see like, should you make this jump, right? And I think you said something like you do that often usually if you have to make a big decision.
Yeah.
Do you find that oftentimes, like, because you said you had a split decision between
Yeah.
a few people, how am I going to word this? How do you let what they say, because they're obviously very close to you, influence your decision at the end of the day? Like, do you ask people in the sense of you want to hear what they have to say, but you kind of already know what's right? Or because you know they love you and what's best for you, and of what majority says, that's what you'll do?
Yeah. I think for me, I'm a pretty logical / rational person.
All right.
So I'm pretty good at decision making in that sense because I can foresee what's going to make the most sense for me and my life and what I want to do and what my future looks like.
Right.
I think when I go to other people, it's just maybe getting a perspective that I haven't thought about yet.
Okay.
And I just know that the people that I'm talking to
Yeah.
they're very smart people as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear what they have to say. For the most part, I'm likely going to go with my gut
Right.
and what I'm thinking, but I just want to get their perspective, their thoughts on it,
Yeah.
so that when I do make the decision, at least I've had other things to think about.
Gotcha. Yeah.
If I'm going to deviate from my decision, it's because probably everyone said,
Yeah.
don't do
What
it.
are you doing?
Or
Yeah.
like, don't be an idiot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case in this scenario. And that
Yeah.
normally isn't the case.
Right.
Because most people that I talk to have kind of a similar mindset to me. They'll just give me kind of different angles of looking at it.
Yeah.
And also, like, I know who I'm going to go to when I want to hear something specific.
For sure. I'm the
Because
same.
my sisters are going to say something different. My friends are going to say something different.
Yeah.
My mentors are going to say something different.
Yeah.
But I think in this particular case, the most valuable advice was going to be from those people, but then also the people who I knew were doing really well in the industry,
For sure. That's
right?
a big
Because
one.
they're the only ones that actually know the industry well.
Mhm.
And just to deviate from that,
Yeah,
the other thing that kind of, I wouldn't say it got me into it, but
Okay.
it kind of got me to start thinking
Yeah.
was so obviously like the group that we have with the golf
Yes.
golf guys and all that, right?
Yeah.
So we were playing around on a weekend.
Yeah.
And this is when I was still working the corporate jobs.
Yeah.
And I think the guys wanted to set up a game like on like a Wednesday at like 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or something.
Yeah. You couldn't.
And I couldn't because it just I had to go to work. So I was like, oh, sorry guys, can't play.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys made a joke. He's like, just get a sales job.
Yeah.
And we all joked about it, but I'm like, all right.
All right. Done.
So let's so that didn't push me to do
Of
it,
course.
but like it's just funny to think about that because I actually did that.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So And obviously the goal isn't so that I can play golf at 10 a.m.
No, but you could if you want.
I could if I want. I think the flexibility is what I was going after as well when
sure.
it comes to kind of working for yourself.
Yeah.
Is you can pick and choose how your schedule looks. You can choose to be working 20 hours a day, or you can choose to work 10 to 12 or 8 or split it. Maybe it's a longer day one day and then a shorter day another day.
Yeah.
You get to make that control, and that's what kind of drive me to go this entrepreneurial route.
Yeah.
Because I was able to have that control over my life.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to touch on that in a sec, but just quickly to backtrack.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned, so your dad did the real estate on the side, and he was a firm believer in like multiple income streams, which I definitely believe in as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you said something important where now you had to make that decision where this is no longer just going to be like a side idea. You're jumping into it.
Yeah.
So like, what was the reaction from your parents kind of when you brought that up to them?
That's a good question. Because my dad was probably the last one I spoke to about it.
There you go. Because were you nervous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very. Yeah. Because obviously when you go into this, you don't have a lot of stability.
For sure.
I think Dorian talked about it where it's like you're unemployed until your next deal comes.
Yeah.
So he was very supportive of it because one, he knows the potential of being a good realtor.
Yeah.
But as a dad, he's like, just be careful with it.
For sure.
Right.
For sure.
But he was very much like, if this is what you want to do, same thing that what I said for myself. It's like, only way you're going to know is if you try it.
Yeah.
So go try it. And if you do well, great. If not, then you can go back to the corporate world. And I wasn't worried about it because I had enough corporate experience where I could go back. And I had enough people, I guess, in my corner from the multiple places that I worked at where I could leverage those connections and maybe land something that was open at the time. But hopefully I don't have to do that.
No, I'm the same where it was like, my dad was the same. He was like, you're young, take the risk now.
Yeah.
And because I was at the bank, so like where I was, I always said like worst case, I hope not, but I could go back.
Yeah.
And I know how that would look, so that's good. It's good. He was supportive because it's always kind of harder to do it when there's resistance.
Yeah.
So that's massive. So then I guess like my next question would be, obviously like, okay, you were exposed to real estate because of your dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you have a deeper reason why you chose real estate?
I think that's kind of be like the number one kind of reason I was exposed to it.
Correct.
I also have 2 properties of my own.
Okay.
So I've done the transaction for myself.
Yeah.
And it kind of came easy to me.
Right.
Like I knew what was going on, what was happening. And so I think just between those 2 things and just understanding that job and what it takes, that's kind of what led me to it. And then the last thing, which actually I think is the biggest thing, is this industry and this job is a very people-oriented business. And that's something I've always thrived in when it comes to leveraging relationships, when it comes to building connections. That's kind of what drove me to do it, because you're just working with people. The transaction is actually probably the smallest part of the job, like doing the transaction.
Yeah.
It's the working with the family or the person ahead of that and after that that takes up more of the time. And I feel like that just comes natural to me.
Yeah.
So I think knowing the industry, knowing the job, being a good people person, those 2 things, and just growing up with it.
For sure.
That's kind of what led me to this industry.
Yeah. All right.
So.
Well, that makes sense though. And I think, bringing up the people person is important because, listen, I'm not in the industry and this is going to be an assumption.
Yeah.
But if you're not a people person, it'd be very hard for you to succeed because you really need to understand your clients' needs and wants, have the patience and the time to sit there, do the deal, find the property for them, take them to 20 showings if they need, whatever it is. And if you aren't that much of a people person or have that personality, that'll be very difficult for you and you get frustrated.
Yeah.
So I think it's nice to see that you also enter the industry from the aspect of like you were exposed to it, it aligns with who you are as a person. Because obviously I know a lot of people also tap into real estate just because they think it's like quick money.
Yeah.
So
which it's not.
Right.
Especially in the down market.
For sure. And you got to work for it, right?
Yeah.
So especially because you just brought that up, actually, let's tap into that. Because you got into real estate at a time where it wasn't like the thriving career to have.
It was right after that.
Right. So like I guess like tell everyone kind of the year you really went into it and then how you navigated that, because there's no way that was easy.
Yeah. No. So just to give some context for the viewers that don't really understand the market and like the peaks and valleys.
Yep.
2020 to 2022 was like the biggest peak we've had in a very long time. Like houses were selling in 10 seconds. Everyone was buying, everyone was selling.
Yep.
And prices went up like 20 to 25%. It was insane. And then as soon as interest rates started to go way up, that's when it kind of came down, like the whole market in general.
Yeah.
So that was kind of end of 2022 going into 2023. So I joined at the end of 2023.
So at
the end of the year. So it was like basically the interest rates were at its highest.
Yeah.
And people were very reluctant to get into the market.
For sure.
And that's when I decided to become the professional.
You're like, this is my time.
This is my time. But I also think that, again, when it comes back to the advice that I got, people were saying, if you can thrive in this and you can do well in this, then you know that you're gonna be good for this long term. Because when it gets better, then it'll come a lot more naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 2023 is when I joined. I'd say it was difficult. It was a bit of a shock, and I think that was a time where I really had to like decide what kind of professional I wanted to be.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of things that kind of helped me with this, right? So I'd say the first few months were obviously hard to find, the first few deals.
For sure.
But I had the mentality of like, I can only control my inputs.
Right.
I can't control the outputs. Yep. Or if someone wants to put pen to paper, I can only control what I do. So the first thing was just authenticity, right? So it's just being me. And I never want to deviate from that. And that's through my conversations with people. That's through my social media. That's through my open houses, door knocking, before the transaction, after the transaction. Like, I don't want to be somebody I'm not. And I think I've been doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get some feedback from some of my clients.
Someone
and my
replies,
friends.
absolutely not.
Yeah. And that just comes from my personality, like how I dress, how I present myself.
Yeah.
I'm not the person that's going to come up in a $3,000 suit, because that's just not who I am.
Yeah.
I might show up in a hoodie. Like, I don't know, depending on the day.
I
Right?
like that.
So I just being my true authentic self, because I think you mentioned it earlier, is people can see through bullshit.
Yeah.
So if I'm not me, people will see that right away.
100%.
Number two is, when you're in a down market, is you actually have to put the hours in and put the effort into your lead generating part of the business. So that's knocking on doors 2 or 3 times a week, every single week. That's running open houses. That's cold calling, going to networking events, calling people that like I haven't spoke to in 2 or 3 years to say, hey, just letting you know I'm in the business now. So if you ever need any help, like, you know, I'm here. Yeah. It's doing all those things consistently. And I think where some people go wrong is they do it for 3 or 4 weeks, and then it's like, oh, it's not working.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you need to do it for 3 or 4 months before you get that, you know, that traction to start coming in.
Yeah.
The mentality I always had was like, someone had said to me, it's like the analogy of like, you're digging for gold, and you're not finding it, but you keep digging. And then people, for the most part, will give up when the gold's right on the other side. So it's like, when you have that thought of like, okay, like this isn't working, just keep going a little bit further. It's going to come.
Yeah.
So anyway, just to wrap that up, it's like just continuing to like consistently work at that. Number 3 is just like being knowledgeable of what's going on, just being competent, what's happening in the market, what's happening in the economy. Just because when that people will see that you know what you're doing.
Right.
And I'll share a little bit of a story. Like one of the clients I'm working with right now, with doing a couple of transactions for them. Someone that I used to work with was a mentor of mine. And what she said to me before we started working together was something that resonates so much with me. And she's like, I would not have chosen you, even though I've known you for like 10 years or however long, had I not seen that you know what you're talking about. Right? So I think I have to like invest in the knowledge and the education and just being good at what I do. I'll admit I'm not the best at what I do. I'm not the best in this industry. I'm only 2 years in.
Right.
But I'm consistently working at learning and getting better at this.
Yeah.
So that drove me to continue down that path of just getting better at this job.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was just continuing on working on being that people person and just building relationships.
For sure.
Um, because I think where a lot of people make mistakes is, like you said, people chase the check.
Yeah.
They chase that paycheck. It can be a pretty big paycheck.
Yeah.
Right. I won't. Like,
For sure.
I'll admit it. It can be pretty big. But I think the mentality you have to go in is like focus on the relationship with the people that you're working with, and that's before the transaction, that's during the transaction, that's after the transaction, right? And I think when you go in with that focus, and you can actually build a business, because then those people are going to want to work with you. They're going to refer you to their friends, like, because you're focused on the relationship with them, not on just writing the paper and getting them to sign.
Yeah.
Right. And that's coming off now. Like, I have clients that are inviting me to their birthdays and like hanging out with them and their friends at their trailer, and going out for drinks with them, playing golf with them. Like, that's what I really wanted, because then building the business becomes easier,
For sure.
because it's all centered around the clients.
Yeah.
I just went on this tangent. I don't know what
No,
I was.
no, but you're good. You're good. You
Yeah,
nailed everything.
I
You're
think
good.
that's like. I think those are the things I had to focus on when you're working in a market that's against you.
For sure.
And it's been paying off, and it's been working. So I'm just going to continue working at that.
Keep doing that. Yeah. Well, they say like the best businesses were actually built in like recessions. Like apparently Coca-Cola was built in a recession.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, you suffer the hard times, or if you're successful in the hard times, you'll only be more successful in the good times. But that last point you just mentioned about taking care of the clients before, during, and after, that's a massive realization for you, especially being so new to the industry, because Dorian actually spoke about that. And that's something he focuses on. He's in like literally the luxury side of real estate. And he's like, he takes care of his clients just because he genuinely wants to service them, like from his heart, like to help them.
Yeah.
And I think what's misunderstood sometimes is a lot of clients look for that relationship with their realtor.
Yeah.
So when it's given to them, like, sure, I know you can sell my house, but I want to build that relationship with you, because guess what? As I get older, I'm building my network. I want an accountant. I want a good realtor. I want, I don't know, someone like a doctor, all these things.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I trust you. I refer you to my buddy. And now my buddy refers you to his buddy. But all of that comes from you took care of me before, during, and after the transaction.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and you can sense people's energy. I always say this, like, I can hire, even if it's not a realtor, it could be anyone in any industry, literally, that is there to service you. When you come into it, I can sense if you're doing it just because you know I'm about to pay you, or you genuinely care about my best interest.
Yeah.
And I think that's the differentiator, and why you've also had so much success from the start. You're being you, yes, you're having your knowledge, but you're taking care of a client and not in a panic of, well, I'm new and it's a downtime and I have to make money and I don't have an income. Like, you just focused on what you knew the end goal would be, and like it's paying off for you now. So big shout out and kudos to you for that.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Crushing that.
Yeah.
And then I know you mentioned before, like, your lifestyle. So obviously it wasn't the reason you got into real estate, but it does allow you to have a bit more control over your life.
Yeah.
How do you see that as like an importance as you get older, and like, trying to have that lifestyle balance, you want to call it, where it's like work, but eventually you have like, a partner and a family, and go on vacation with your friends, like whatever it is. How is that important to you, and even to like maybe your happiness as you continue?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I'll kind of start with, there are people that are living to work.
Yep.
And there are other people that are working to live. And I think people will realize that working to live is the more important one, but they realize that at different times of their life. And I think I've realized that earlier. And by earlier, I mean like in the last few years. So flexibility is very important to me. And it's just being able to, control my schedule, control when I take on a lot of work, when I take on less work. It's very important to me, because I want to be able to do the things that I want with my friends, my family. I want to be able to focus on my fitness and my health. I want to be able to, golf when I choose to.
For sure.
And I'm not saying I'm going to go golfing 5 days a week, because that's obviously not sustainable. I want to be able to travel and go experience new things. So I think that's important, not 10 years from now or 20 years from now after you've done your career. I think it's important to create a sustainable life starting from when you're starting the career.
Yeah.
Now, I obviously understand that at the beginning stages, you probably need to put a bit more effort into building that business and building that that resilience with the work you're doing, so that you can get that later.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to build the habits now so that you can get that flexibility, um, so that you can sustain it
Yeah.
over a longer period of time. Because I think what ends up happening is people will work 15, 18 hours a day and make all this money and do really well and become successful. And then they burn out after 10 years and they can't recover and they don't know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, I have all this money. I have everything I want. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Whereas for me, I'm trying to kind of put everything into the basket at once, in a sustainable way so that I'm enjoying every day,
Yeah.
instead of waiting 15 years to enjoy it then.
For sure.
So I think it's very important to me to answer the question.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, but you're right. Like they actually, and I realized this case. So Steve Jobs gave a speech at a commencement years ago before he died. And we had to do like a project in high school and we had to pick a speech from someone, whatever. Anyways, I fell across the speech and to this day, it impacted me so hard when I heard him talk. And like, I'll send you the link after. It's like, I refer to everybody just in the sense where like everyone should listen to this because he puts life in perspective.
Mhm.
And, you know, he was obviously like a multi-millionaire. I don't even know if he was a billionaire. I don't know, but
Yeah.
he had a lot of money clearly. And he obviously got sick with cancer. And what he talks about in that speech is like, at the end of the day, like if you don't have health, like your money doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
You can be a gazillionaire. If you're dying tomorrow, your money's going with you or it's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why it's like, I think it's so important even that you recognize this now where you want to live your life now because you're,
Mhm.
if you burn yourself out and then try to enjoy, like reap the benefits of what you did later,
Yeah.
you still can, but it won't be as enjoyable because naturally too, as we get older, our bodies change.
Yeah.
And like what we can do changes. You can, and listen, I get it. There are people that'll be like 70 and going to a rave. Like,
Yeah,
good
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
I don't think I could do that,
Could
right?
do it now.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like that's massive. And that's a big reason why I also kind of did what I did. Cause like
Yeah.
I love travel and I'm like, you know, I don't like this fact that I need to report to someone when I'm sick and they
Yeah.
can tell me, yo, you can only be sick 3 days out of the year so I can pay you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't know what I'm going through or like,
Yeah.
what if I'm generally out for a week? Now I got to suffer not being paid for something that's out of my control
Yeah,
or like,
yeah.
you know, vacation. Well, you only get 2 weeks. And it's like, well, why do I only get, like, why are you restricting my freedom?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it's amazing that you kind of realize that
Yeah.
now. Would you wait? So another question, because you said you kind of went on your own from a team.
Yeah.
So are you part of any brokerage right now, or it's literally you?
No. So unless you're a broker,
Yeah.
As a realtor, you have to be part of a brokerage,
Got
which
it.
is like a
Okay.
Remax, a Royal LePage,
Yeah.
KW, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just like legally, you have to be part of one.
Right.
But then within a brokerage, you'll get high producing agents, can either be a salesperson or a broker,
Yeah.
that will basically start a team within that brokerage.
Got it. Okay.
And then you can join that person's team because there's training, there's development, there's marketing, there's resources. They give you leads sometimes. And you can be part of that, so that you can grow within that team.
Yeah.
So I was on a team like that,
Gotcha.
which was part of Keller Williams.
Got it. Okay.
But I was on the team that was part of it. Now with that, you basically, how it works with commission deals and all that, like
Yeah.
you pay more of your commission to the team lead
Got it.
or
Okay.
to whatever company.
Yeah.
Because they're training you, they're developing you.
For sure.
They might give you a few leads because they're an established
Right.
kind of team lead or team.
Right.
So then they'll give that to you and then you pay them more of a split.
Gotcha.
But it can be worth it because you're getting the guidance and the training from them.
100%.
Now, when I was on the team for 3 or 4 months, I can't
Yeah.
remember, and then I just went off on my own,
Got it.
which is being a solo agent. That's
Okay.
part of a brokerage.
Got it.
I'm not
Okay.
on a team anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm aligned.
Yeah,
I got you. I didn't even know because, like, obviously I've talked to a few realtors.
Yeah.
I get the gist of what everyone does because they all
Yeah.
kind of do different things.
Yeah.
But that was a good explanation.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Dorian, he's
Yeah.
a team lead,
Right.
but works as part of a brokerage.
Right.
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 Tyler is
Yeah.
a team lead at the Tyler McClay Realty Group,
Right.
but he's part of Royal LePage.
Got
Right.
it. Okay.
So
okay.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
I'm just a solo agent, part of Royal LePage.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha. All right.
So-
That's cool though. Well, honestly, ballsy that within 3-4 months you were like,
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm doing this shit for me, and
Yeah.
that's it. But
Yeah.
like, I think it's a testament to your character too,
Yeah.
right? Like, and you could stay in the team, obviously, and listen, that has its benefits in its
Yeah.
own. but the fact that you bet on yourself, and that's really what entrepreneurship is betting on yourself
Yeah.
when like no one else will, even at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like big shout out to you for that.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem. And then, like we did speak about health and like obviously being a realtor, and we talked about, you can pick your hours and you could work long days, short days.
Yeah.
How do you stay disciplined when it comes to like, do you have a set routine that like keeps you kind of in line so you're not overworking yourself? How does that work? How do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I create a schedule for myself every week.
Okay. Like at the beginning of the week?
On like a Sunday or a
Okay.
Monday. So I won't go into like what hours I do what. I focus on making sure I get X amount of things in my week. So 4 to 5 workouts in, if I can. And that's in the morning, like wake up and go.
Yeah.
I'm not someone that wakes up at 4 in the morning or 5 in the morning. That's just not me.
Yeah.
I can't. Some people do it and it's great. Good
I
for
know,
you.
not me either.
I can't do it. I'll get up probably between 6 and 7 and go, and then start my day around 8:30 or 9. But that's like most important thing is I need to get a workout and get active.
Yeah.
Number 2 is nutrition. So just making sure that I'm eating right throughout the week.
Yeah.
And then I try to make sure I get like 1, maybe 2 days just off.
Okay.
Like just not like just take some downtime. Now I'm always working
For sure. Yeah.
but I'm not out actively prospecting or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, some weeks I might not get that day off. Some weeks I do.
Yeah.
But I do want to prioritize like a day off if I can because that's my recharge day.
For sure.
And then 4 to 5 days of like active prospecting and active working days.
Yeah.
And the length of those days depends. It might be an 8-hour day. It might be a 10-hour day. It might be a 3-hour day.
Yeah.
It just depends on what's going on in my business at that time. And then I also prioritize some sort of socializing, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, whatever that is.
Gotcha.
So it's not necessarily, it's more of a fluid schedule, I guess.
Yeah.
But I just try to make sure I get those things in because those are the important things to me.
Right.
Right. And that's how I can sustain doing this longer term because I'm able to focus on that. So that's my routine.
Yeah. And those are like your non-negotiables.
Non-negotiables. Yeah. And like, there have been weeks where I'm like, I just don't get a day off because I have 7, 8, 9 clients on the go and that's okay. Like I know I'll get it back in the future.
For sure.
But then there are some days where I'll take 2 days off because that's just my schedule allows me to.
Right.
So that's a bit about my routine and how I control it and how I get those things done.
For sure.
But yeah.
But I think even just you saying the whole thing about a recharge day is massive because a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'll throw myself in there, like don't understand the importance of that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you put it in a way where like, obviously if you're busy, you get it. Like you're going to work 7 days a week, whatever you have to do. But if you can fit it in, you do.
Yeah.
And that will literally, just that day alone will help you sustain everything that much longer. Like there are people that work like 7 days a week, like 12-hour days nonstop for months on end.
Yeah.
And then you see them and they look like the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I'm like, what happened to you? Oh, I haven't seen friends. And it's like, I also understand, and I don't want to be inconsiderate. I understand like people have different life situations and sometimes they have to work 3 jobs and that is like, unreal and like good for you. Like you're doing what you got to do with the hustle.
Yeah.
But I think if you're privileged enough in the sense where you can take that day off, like definitely take it for yourself and don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Like where I struggle a lot is I feel like if I take the day off, I'm almost like letting the business down or the clients down. Like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
When I'm not. And like hearing you say that is actually refreshing because it's like, okay, someone else who's on their own is recognizing the importance of that. And is that something you recognized right away or as you started this journey?
I'd say on the first team that I was on,
Yeah.
So Mike that I was talking about, that was something that he really pushed on us was like, take your day if you can. So I think it was right from the start that was instilled in me.
Yeah.
And I think some of even the corporate jobs that I worked for, some of my leaders were very, they were good with that. They were like, take the day if you need it. Like make sure you're taking time for yourself. And I think just a lot of the mentors and people that I've surrounded myself with, like they're very adamant on that.
Yep.
So I think I just recognize it right from the start. But yeah, I think it's super important. I think when you kind of look at it from an overall perspective, like one day off is not going to kill your business, right?
That's true.
And on that day off, if a client calls me, I'm going to answer and we're going to talk to them. Like, it's not like it's a complete, don't talk to me day. It's just a day to chill a bit.
Yeah.
right? Maybe watch a show
Yeah.
or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I recognize that pretty early, and I think it's important.
For sure.
So
And I think what's cool too is like the importance of mentors and how you had such a good mentor or group or team that showed you the importance of that
yeah,
because it could go the other way. You can
yeah,
follow a mentor that hustles and bustles all day long, every single day of the week. And that's what you'll think is what you need to do for
yeah,
success.
yeah,
And I think that's a good thing with mentorship is like look up to someone that is doing what you're doing, but understand that you can also achieve what they're doing in your own way.
yeah,
It's not always about it's their way or the highway. Use it as a guidance and then
yeah,
kind of find your own way to achieve that path with the knowledge
yeah.
that you have. So for you now, like what's what are your bigger goals with real estate? Like do you want to have a team? Do you want to have a brokerage? Like what's the vibe there?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
So there's two avenues I can go down.
Hmm.
Maybe there's more than two, but I've kind of narrowed it down to two.
Yeah.
One is just be the solo agent and just continue down that path forever and
Hmm.
just do however many deals that you need to do to sustain a good income to live the life I want to live. That's
Yeah.
like option one.
Yeah.
That requires me to be actively producing all the time and just kind of be here often,
Right.
right? Number two is you go the team route, and it's building a business that's successful enough where you can hire 3, 4, 5 different agents. If I were to do it, I think I would cap it at that number. I wouldn't
Okay.
go the 20, 30 agent route.
Yeah.
Um, and then build the team because I do like the education part of it. I've always been a bit of an educator,
Yeah.
and just being able to explain something that I know well, and just hire that team so that I can build that business up, take a bit of time back for myself,
Yep.
and then go that route. So I'm kind of split on
Yeah.
which one I want to do. I think I'm leaning towards the start a team.
For sure.
That's going to take a bit of time. That doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I still have to build my own business
Yeah.
and get that successful enough and get that busy enough
Yeah.
to be able to warrant hiring people to be part of the team.
Yeah.
But I think that's the angle I'm going to lean towards because then with that, I think I can achieve some of the life goals that I have for myself and my future family and all that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, I was gonna say like that probably makes the most sense in how you've spoken about like how you kind of want to live your life out.
yeah,
It's like when they say in business, like when you delegate, it's not because you don't want to do the task, but it's to get your time back.
yeah, yeah,
And that's what that is. It's like, okay, so you're not delegating really,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you just now have a team to kind of help you with all the listings. Because as you grow and you get busier, you're either going to burn out
yeah,
or realize I need the help. But the most pivotal point is like, when do you realize I'm going to start getting the help now before I burn out?
yeah, yeah,
So it's like when they say, even when you start like a business, like Mitch and I have actually spoken about this a lot,
Yeah.
where I started my business, and from the start, I made the decision to like take less profit, but hire people to help me from the beginning who are
Yeah.
experts in each field. With him, he stayed hands on more, even up until now. Now he's starting to pull away. So like you can see the pros and the cons for each decision.
yeah, yeah,
So with you now, it's like, okay, so you're getting into it, you're seeing success as you're going to continue to just be more successful.
Yeah.
So now you have to decide where that line is of like, okay, now I feel like I have enough where I'm going to start slowly bringing one person, two people. And I think it's interesting you said you don't want to grow it past a very small number.
yeah.
Why is that?
I just think when I was when I was on the other side, when I was on the team, when there was
Right.
only 3 or 4 people on it,
Yeah.
I felt like I was getting the attention I needed.
Got it.
Because there wasn't that many of us,
Yeah.
right? If I needed to go to my team lead for something, he was there.
Right.
I feel like if, as the team lead now, people will need me,
Mhm.
right? Because I'm probably going to be hiring people that are less experienced than me,
Right.
and they're going to need some of that guidance. Now, if there's way more than that on the team, then my time gets split, like less time gets split amongst every person, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's just a number that it's not like a scientific
For
number
sure,
or whatever,
yeah.
but I think it's just a number that's going to be manageable.
Yeah.
And I can actually put the time, effort, and energy into each person,
Yep.
and helping them grow and develop
Yeah.
as well as an agent themselves.
Yeah.
So I just think that's just a range that I've thought of.
Yep.
And it'll help me achieve the goals that I want to have for myself as well.
For sure.
And it's not always about, I think just to like reiterate one of the earlier points I made. It's not about like getting all my time back and basically not working.
No,
Like
of course, of course.
I'm still, the goal is to still be an effective and efficient realtor for my clients.
Yeah.
I just want to, I've always been someone that puts 100% into my clients.
Yeah.
But once that grows past a certain amount, then you just can't, because there's just so much going on. So that's where the team comes in
Yeah.
and is able to help you with that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where that's all coming from.
Yeah.
Is that once the business grows to a certain point, we need to bring people in to then, so that we all can service our clients in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm leaning towards. I haven't quite made the decision yet, because I'm still in my early days.
For sure, yeah.
But I still got a future look to see like what my 10, 15 years are going to look like from now, right?
Yeah.
So,
you got a plan, right?
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
like even to touch on your point, I don't think again, I'm not in the space, but from what I know, like any of the team leads that I see even online, like they're never hands off.
Yeah.
Like they're still selling a lot.
Yeah.
So it's never about like, oh, I'm going to hire people and then that's it. Like when you're doing something because you genuinely love it, you always want to be involved.
Yeah.
And like you said, at the end of the day, it's a decision to make to just better the service for your clients.
Yeah.
But I'm going to throw something at you.
All right.
So let's say you get 4 people, okay? You get a team of 4 people.
Okay.
Now, you've trained them. They're doing really, really well. They're helping you out. You're still crushing it. You're
Yeah.
giving them whatever you have to give them to be amazing at what they are. Now, what if they all become like mini you, 4 of them? So now when you start to hire people, they each branch and train 3 and train 3 and train 3.
That'd be great.
So now all you got to do is obviously be there for the whole team, but
Yeah.
you have your leads, like your leaders
Yeah.
that now directly understand you and what you need. And now it's passing on. And in that, you can grow your team.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Right?
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that, but like there are people that do that.
Yeah. Because
There
you
are-
could, right? Because I totally get what you're saying. Like you're one person. If you
Yeah.
have 20 people on the team and you have to train them all the exact same way, like
Yeah.
yes, it'll be efficient, but not as efficient as like more of like a private training where it's 3-4 people get your attention. You can give them 100% of your time and your energy.
Yeah.
So it's like you do that, and that's how you keep growing. So now you
Yeah,
have your
yeah.
leaders, and they start to
Yeah. That'd be cool.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I got folks on the first 4.
Yeah.
And then after the 4, then we go to the rest.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
think about it too. Like you get 3-4,
Yeah.
people start to see their success online as well because now they have networks.
Yeah.
You're gonna get interest. People
Yeah.
are gonna say, "Holy, like, what is this?" You know, even look at Tyler. Like he's growing exponentially,
Yeah.
but because he has such a good team environment
Yeah.
and what they put out, they're very successful. So people are naturally interested in wanting to work with them.
Yeah.
Same exact thing could happen with you, right?
Yeah. I love his team. His team is great.
Yeah, they're sick. All of them are
Yeah.
really cool.
I try to spend a decent amount of time around them.
Yeah.
Because I actually work out of that office.
Oh, sick.
So I have an office there in that space.
Yeah.
So I try to, not as much as I want to, but I try to go there when they're there
Mm-hmm.
and just get some FaceTime with them and, collaborate a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's people on his team that are more experienced than I am. And it's just like getting more knowledge out of them too.
For
right?
sure,
So I
yeah.
definitely value the people that are on his team and him as well. Like him
Yeah.
and I have been actually friends for like 15 years.
No way.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So sometimes I just call him directly. I'm like,
Yeah.
Todd, I need your help.
Yeah.
But no, he's grown some really great agents on
Yeah.
his team. So
And I think it's cool too. And like that you just said, you know, you'll hang around them, get some FaceTime with them. And that at the end of the day is like true entrepreneurship. Like it's not about competition. It's just about helping one another. Like
Yeah.
if I'm successful, I want to see you successful as
Yeah.
well. So a lot of people are ego driven and, won't want to look to other agents for, advice or mentorship. Why? You want to better yourself. And that's with anything in life. We're saying agents because of real estate,
Yeah.
but Matt even spoke about this. Find the person that's doing what you're doing better.
Yeah.
Drop your ego and just ask and
Yeah.
learn because most of the time they will be willing to help you.
Yeah.
And if anything, it'll just benefit you. At the end of the day, you're your own person. So you're going to do what you got to do in your own way that suits your values, your morals, your skill set. But if they're doing what you want to do and they're successful with it, get those like tips and tricks from them and then spin it in your own way.
Yeah.
And if they're good people, they'll want to see you grow and succeed.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a lot of what he does with his team as well.
Yeah.
And then last question here to kind of just like wrap things up with
Yeah.
you. What's one piece of advice you'd tell your 16-year-old self?
It's a good question. I have 2 or 3.
Go
Can I
with
go
it.
with
Run
that?
with it. Yeah.
The first one, which I think has been important for me, is trusting your instincts.
Mhm.
That's more specific to me. That might not be specific to other people.
Yep.
But I think you know, in the last 15 years, I've always had good instincts, and my gut has always, for the most part, been right.
Mm-hmm.
Trust and explore your instincts,
Yeah.
and see if it's actually going to be something that's going to work for you. Number two, which we've talked about this entire time, is surround yourself with good people, and that's friends. That's, I mean, you can't choose your family, but
Right.
your family, your friends, your mentors, because those are the people you learn from. And just on the last point we were just talking about, you know, you want to learn from people who are doing it better than you, and you know, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Learn from them, and then go put your own spin on it. And then just have like a good support system around you, right?
Yeah.
Because as other people are growing, then you want to grow with them too.
For sure.
And then number three, I had this, but I forgot what it was now.
It's okay.
Oh, I think this is something I've learned in the last few years.
Okay.
When things don't go your way, or you know, you visualize something doesn't quite happen the way you want it to, don't get overstressed or over upset about it for a very long time, because that's just life redirecting you to something better. And that's something that I've learned a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. And that's not just with real estate. That's just life in general.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might really want something and it doesn't happen. And it's like, no, it's like, that's because something else is coming that's better.
Yeah.
And that's been a theme in my life the last few years. So I'd say if I knew those three things at 16, or when I was younger, it would have helped me a lot.
For sure.
So.
And I think the last point's massive, because you literally spoke about your career shift.
Yeah.
And that you had a goal, you know what you wanted to achieve. And you had to make tough decisions along the way.
Yeah.
And I think I always say 16 because it's like a weird age. You're like in grade 10 and like, you know, you kind of have to start to figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people get influenced by their parents and what their parents want them to do, or like what they think is best, or you're so stuck in high school. And then as you get older, you realize like, hey, what I thought I wanted can change, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it just means something's better is coming. And it's sucks in the sense where a lot of people only realize that when they're older, because when you're in high school, everything's end all be all. Like, your friend doesn't talk to you, oh, I'm never gonna have friends again. You know, so yeah, like that was everything you said. It was really, really good. Thank you for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Great.
Hey,
First time on a podcast.
I love that. I love that. First time and the best time.
Yeah.
And then,
personally.
And then also, because we mentioned Mitch. You guys know Mitch. I had him on. He spoke about the golf legend, icon.
Yeah.
That's how I met him. It was through Mitch, because he's friends with Mitch. So there's the circle. There's a connection.
We went to high school together.
There you go.
Actually pretty cool, because like we met through, like we reconnected through golf.
Oh, no way.
After like 10 years. We were just playing. He was playing with a group. I was solo behind him.
Yeah.
I wanted to pass through. And I'm like, Mitch, what the hell? I haven't spoken to you in like 10 years, and now we're boys again. So,
hey, I love that. See, guys, golf. I'm telling you, it's golf. But
June 26th.
Yeah. I keep saying this. Pull up. If you're following me, I better see you there. And that's all I'm going to say. But thank you. Like, subscribe, do your thing. Reach out to him if you have any needs in real estate, but also just for a conversation. He's a super cool guy. And I'll catch you guys on the next episode.